So welcome back to the Pool Chasers podcast. I'm your host, Greg Villafana, joined by my co-host, Justin the Bearded Plumber Bowie.
Yes, yes.
And today we've got a very special guest. We've got Andy Everleigh of Environmental Pools. How you doing, Andy?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Great.
Awesome. So, man, tell us about where you're at and Environmental Pools. You have some rich history, and you're on the East Coast. We don't talk to too many East Coasters.
Yeah, no. So we're about 36 years in business here. We started out in 1988. I'm a second generational pool owner. We're located about a half an hour outside of Boston. We're in the snow belt. We service and build pretty much throughout New England, primarily in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, some in Vermont. That's pretty much the geography we carry or we touch down in. Our main focus is just Gunite swimming pools, high-end residential Gunite swimming pools. So,
is that typical in your market up there, the Gunite product?
Yeah, there's a fair share of Gunite. There's a lot of the fiberglass market's good size up here as well.
That's what I was curious. Yeah.
Yeah, fiberglass and vinyl, a decent size. Gunite, Gunite's definitely big. I'm not sure what the biggest market share is, whether it's Gunite or fiberglass, but
nice.
So give us a little bit of history. I mean, what were things like when your dad first started? I mean, why did he even get into it in the first place? Because you said this was 88 that the company was started?
Yeah, so he, prior to founding this Environmental Pools, he worked for this company called Aquatech. They were probably one of the largest pool builders in the country back at that time. They had about 6 different buildings throughout all of New England. And I think they're doing a couple hundred pools a year, which is pretty substantial for this particular area, given the seasonality of the business. And at some point he decided, the company wasn't going in a direction that he envisioned it to go in. He was head of operations and ran their whole construction department at the time. And he made the decision to go out and start his own company. And with the passion, and he had passion for the design build aspect. So he spent a lot of client-facing meetings and design work, and went out and started his own company in 1988. And here I am, X amount of years later, holding the baton. And that's kind of where we're at. I grew up in this industry, so I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen things done a lot differently throughout the years. And where I am now, where my company from when I took it over is about 5 times the size of when it was handed to me.
Wow.
And I've been fortunate that we had such a strong foundation to be able to really grow as fast as we have. And I had a core group of people that have been in the company, even when I was growing up, that I worked, hand in hand for. Now they're work for me, which has been great. So we have a lot of guys that are tenured, a lot of guys that are skilled, that have been with us for a long time. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool environment.
How old were you when you got started?
I started bending rebar probably in about 7th grade, doing all the grunt work, learning. Like from a work ethic standpoint, I'm the oldest of 3 brothers. I have 3 younger brothers. We always were driven to work. We played sports, but in the summertime it was football practice and it was working. So we'd work 5:30 in the morning till whenever we get out, and we go to football practice at night. So we got raised in that type of environment where we learn things from the ground up, which has really helped me. Looking back on it, it's really helped me grow fast because of the knowledge base I have from the building aspect of it, and then the business side of it came in later down the road. But that being able to understand the product that you're producing is huge. So that's kind of my backstory. I've been involved in all parts of the process, not as much with the service department, but enough to where I need to know.
Yeah, that must be an East Coast thing because Justin from Virginia, right?
Maryland.
Maryland, sorry. Justin being from Maryland, he's talked about, at a very young age, everybody knows that you go to work. And I hear that on a lot of podcasts too, where it's like, that's what we've lost in this country. And we're not getting, people in the trades is because we're not, that free labor isn't there anymore. Because, in certain states, man, they just throw you into the fire.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think, for us, it was fun because, same thing. I come from an athletic family. It was a blessing for my father because he had a bunch of athletes that wanted to work and, build muscle because you're tying rebar and hang out together all day long and then do your thing, after you're done work. So it was fun growing up around it. A lot of my closest friends worked for this company when I was younger, and they moved on to do other professions. But it was a cool environment at a young age.
That's a great sales pitch. I love it. For football. You want to get
Yeah,
bulky? You want to get strong?
yeah.
Like, come do some rebar.
Go bend rebar all summer long. Yeah.
When did you take over, or when was your journey started, I guess, as the CEO?
So I've been in this position now for about 6 years, 5 to 6 years. Prior to that, I leaned heavily throughout college, and then after college, I was heavily involved with like the project management side and the
Mm-hmm.
overall operation side with everything. Um, as I started to move my way up within the company from a business perspective, my father always kind of gave me free reins in terms of looking at the financials and understanding job costing, understanding the types of jobs we're doing, the types of jobs we should be doing, to really get a handle in my mind the mix of what I want to do. I never was handcuffed from making decisions that I felt were right.
Mm-hmm.
There was always a conversation to be had, so I didn't, and just go off the whim and do stuff. But I was never necessarily handcuffed from pursuing or thinking I'm going in the right direction. Uh, my father always allowed me to kind of make a decision for myself and stood by me. And then if he thought I was making the wrong one, we'd argue about it and kind of work through it that way. But it's been it was a very healthy relationship, and it's still, I mean, I still use him as an encyclopedia when I
Mm-hmm.
need to, right? So it's like that mentorship was crucial to me to really help develop my skill set, and my like the business decisions I made really drove from that kind of mentorship.
So when you took the reins, what were some of the changes you made right away, or what were some focused
Yeah.
goals you had for yourself?
Yeah. So coming out of coming out of college and looking at the business, I just really honed in on, the profitability side and the efficiency side. And, up here, there was a pool model, probably just like other parts of the country, of this model that whoever built, this is the way these pool companies run, with used car salesman type people that don't have much technical aspect. They get a bid sheet on Excel. You plug in the linear footage, you plug in how many skimmers, the lights, all that kind of, all that type of process to come up with the sale. So I really started looking at that. And then what happened was we had a lot of sales guys that were doing that type of work. I come to find out I was managing some of those sales guys and their projects. And to me, it didn't make any sense why a sales guy, number one, would get paid that type of commission to then hand the baton off to somebody to execute it, when some of the stuff didn't line up with how it should have.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the biggest things I did was really evaluate and disassemble, for that matter, the sales teams, um, and really focus more on the project management and estimating side. So the estimators and the PMs are more the salespeople than the salespeople are. So that way, the people that are forward facing with the client and with the product actually knew how to take the project from A to Z, without just the sales pitch, but actually the technical aspects of it, and the ability to put it together from a pricing standpoint.
So they were almost more specialized in like building out the pricing structure and then closer to the construction side, right? Because that plays
Correct.
into it, right? Like understanding the construction process and then pricing it, I closely
Exactly.
connected.
Understanding the hydraulics, the plumbing we need, how we're going to form that because it's all out of the air. We need to use steel tech. That's not just, all these different things that come into play when you're pricing a job, not just based on a linear foot or a square footage price. There's so many things, especially when we deal with rock and ledge and different site conditions where we can't make pools so tight to clay or however, whatever the situations are across the country. We deal with a lot of variables,
Hmm.
so that it's not as black and white in my mind as just pricing a job like that. So I took the approach of really honing in on that more of a professional estimating and PM side of things than I did a sales side. Um, and what it did for me is it helped with the gray areas with the clients. It helped me really manage and build the staff that was involved with financially how the company was going to run, not just looking to get a commission check.
Did you get rid of the salesman you had, or did you retrain them when you did that?
No, yeah, so that was probably no, I got rid of them, and
Wow.
that was probably the top. So that at a young age, I was given the opportunity to make that decision because I went down this road, and I thought it is the best thing that I've ever done. But at a young age, some of these guys are with us for 20 years,
Hmm.
um, and the decision was made, and I haven't looked back.
That's interesting. I think about some businesses we work for, and I know exactly the salesman you mean. They kind of use the Excel sheet, they get it as close as they can, and then when shit hits the fan, they usually call us looking for some sort of help, some sort of
Correct.
break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's rough.
So, and that was a big decision, or that was a big kind of hurdle or change within the company. And then, there's been a lot of other things with just moving people that I've had in this company to different roles that I felt were best suited for them based on the
Hmm.
the restructure. Um,
Hmm.
I hired an electrical firm. I bought an electrical firm, and I took an electrician that was doing very good electrical work, and I turned him into a PM for pools.
Oh wow,
Uh, because I could see his attention to detail and how much he cared about things. And I think, for me, it's about just the characteristics of people. I think that people can be taught just about anything, but the quality, integrity, and the characteristics is kind of what I look for to help grow the business.
that's interesting.
Uh,
So, what are some of the
but
most valuable changes you've made to your business?
so I think a couple of different things. So I think that the organization of the business was probably the biggest thing. Was like I said, developing, not having a sales staff, but having an estimating and PM staff, and then really building relationships with landscape architects and designers throughout New England. In my mind, I utilize them for my sales staff because they meet with clients and design projects all across this area, hundreds of projects, whether they have a pool or not. But I've kind of taught them and trained them on things that they had questions on how to build pools, kind of detailing pools and things like that, which has been substantial because they're business partners to me as much as some of my employees. So that's been a huge aspect of my growth. It just really partnering and working collaboratively with different landscape architects and designers across New England. Um, and the other thing is just bringing technology into a business. At our age or my age, I'm not afraid of technology. I'm not afraid to implement technology. I think that that's really been as a stepping stone for my company to elevate versus some of my competitors. It's just, technology is scary to some people, especially, you know, some of the old timers that have been in the industry for a while. I mean, they're not willing to bite off a whole different structure of how they do things or how they got to review things. So I think that's been huge. That's definitely been huge.
Speaking of technology, what do you guys use for like project management?
So I built out Build a Trend to, we use Build a Trend. I built out Build a Trend strictly for how we use pools
Hmm.
with all the material selections and everything that we kind of our process with the pools and tracking schedules and milestones and things like that. So that's been huge on the pool construction side.
Was that the first software that you had tried to integrate, or?
No, before that we had Evasys. We ran Evasys probably for about close to 8 years, maybe 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And then we moved away from that. Just in my mind, just keeping up with the, now I like the cloud-based aspect of it,
Hmm.
being able to do things everywhere, being able to be on my phone and have something look like Facebook where I'm getting live feeds on what the guys are doing all the time and things like that. And it's been substantial.
What you said you had it customized, like give me an example, like what are some things that you did?
So I mean, I brought in all PebbleTech's information with all the materials and selections. I brought in all the tile vendors that we use with all the pictures of their materials and selections.
Oh,
Um, I pre-built out all these Gantt charts on how the pools are built so that when we convert a client, they get a pre-built Gantt chart and how the project's going to timeline out and where that comes into play so we can forecast cash flow and forecast all the phases so we can look at really, at any time I can look at, I got 60 pools to Gunite, 20 pools to excavate, all these pools to permit. So you know, I can really get a snapshot of my business efficiency quickly from
yeah,
a pool standpoint.
that's awesome. What do you? Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
Nope.
What do you have in terms of employees? Like you said something about you brought in an electrical firm, right? Who do you have in house right now for you?
So I have about close to 70 employees.
Wow.
Um, so we have a construction process, we have a construction team and we have a service team. Service, I bet there's probably about 30 that are devoted to service, maybe 35 that are devoted to service. The others are construction and admin.
Service for you, is that pool maintenance or is that pool repairs or what's under that umbrella?
Yeah, pool service, weekly service, bi-weekly service we do. And then our biggest thing we have to open and close pools. So we have
Uh-huh.
to winterize pools and we have to reopen them in the springtime. So that's a huge part of our service process.
Wow. So how do you get all those people to subscribe to your mission and make them passionate about, how you're driving the business?
I have no idea.
I
No,
mean, you're
no,
clearly doing it right somehow. So
no. I think I mean, I don't know if there's a simple answer to that, right? I think it's not just me. Put it that way. I think that the morale of the company. I mean, I think I'd say yeah, it starts at the top, but I think the overall morale is a trickle down effect. I think all my guys care, or at least seem to care, for that matter.
yeah,
Um, but I think everybody gets along, right? And when I hire people or when I look to hire people, I look to hire people that I feel is going to be a good fit. They could be the best plumber or the best service guy in the world. If they're going to come in here and, you know, be that type of personality that I feel is going to mix up what we got going on. And I don't care how good you are. I'm not, same thing. I grew up playing sports my whole life, right? So you can have a superstar if you want one superstar, or you can have, analogy with the Patriots. You can have Tom Brady and a bunch of random ass people that win championships over and over, right? So it's like I'd rather take that type of mentality than that. So I think my people all work together. We all help each other out, right? And
yeah.
that type of camaraderie is really what the buy-in factor. Just they see that and they live that.
I like that analogy. You could have one superstar. Yeah, I like that.
So
So,
So
so
I want to go back just a little bit. I'm curious on like what is your thought process when making decisions, especially from the very beginning where maybe that you need to implement processes and kind of look at budgeting and you're going to set up how we're going to approach the landscape architects. I mean, because it's like one decision one decision that you make could very well affect, you know, other departments and other people and different things like that. I mean, how, you know, what is kind of your, you know, mental checklist of, you know, how am I going to make this decision and how am I going to roll it out and implement it to my team?
Yeah, I think the communicate, I mean, depends on some of this stuff, whether I communicate it with the guys to really get feedback on different things, and then I kind of gather that information and make what I feel is the right decision. I think at a young age, or when I came into this out of college, I'd been exposed to it since I was in seventh or eighth grade, right? So, you know, you see things for 10 years, and I'm not making calls when I'm in high school about different situations, but you see things. I think I retained a lot so that when I felt like my time was my time, I had facts in my head and I had examples and I had situations that were real situations that I could look back on and I knew it needed to be changed, right? So I think that's kind of what drove the first 5 to 10 years of my business decision life. I think now it's more just working with the people I have in place because I have tremendous respect for them and what they've been able to do alongside me. That I think, now it's a little bit more collaborative, like, hey, what do you think we need? Do you think we need this or do we not need this? And these guys would be straight up with you, like, no, I could take more. I could take that off someone's plate and I could do this. Or no, this has been a pain in my ass. I just can't seem to find the time to do this. We should, it'd be nice if we could fill this gap. And, a lot of those decisions now come about it that way, to be honest with you. And you'd be
Right.
surprised how many guys, a lot of times the guys, if I bring up a problem or I talk to these guys about things, a lot of these guys personally will step up and say, I can take that on. I can take that on. Which has been good.
That's awesome. I wish we had more guys like that. I don't know if that's a East Coast West Coast thing, but it seems like that's hard to find these days.
Yeah.
More
Mm.
people looking to get stuff off their plate, I feel like in general, but that's awesome.
Um, you know, this business is like a game, right? To some degree, where, you know, you're trying to make a lot more money than you spend or you're giving away. I mean, are there things, are there decisions you make that are like based on kind of like making more money? Like, what are some of the key things that you're looking for when it comes to like, I don't know, budgeting, finances? Is there, you know,
Yeah.
anything?
So I think that, a lot of the finance side of my decisions primarily come on the efficiency side. Looking at what, so for instance, Build a Trend, right? So Build a Trend cut out two or three people in my office in terms of them being able to do, like, I don't need full-time schedulers. I don't need, all these people behind the desk to communicate selections and get selections because I can release a selection to Justin right now, and he can look at the tile and click off that he wants this tile or this pebble, right? So there's a lot of time savings that happen. And then, so financially, I look at things that I can put in place that reduce time that I can then either make more money or I can reinvest into developing the business somewhere else. And that's how I approach things. Um, is like, all right, so if you're not doing this because we have a system or I'm putting this in place, now I want to have you reevaluate and start looking at focusing on how I can, you know, increase my equipment upgrades and service or whatever the circumstance is going to be. Um,
Yeah. Do you think you have to really level up in using technology and all these different things? Because, you know, if you're going to call yourself a luxury builder and you're going to work with, you know, some of the best landscape architect firms in your region, I'm sure that they're going to expect you to deliver a specific type of product. You know, you want to talk
oh
a
yeah,
little bit about,
yeah,
you know, what's expected of your company?
yeah. So same thing. So the pool side of it, obviously, we have to build the highest level pool, structural pool, hydraulically designed pool. That's one part of it, but the business side of it so I think that we have that. I think even before I came in this company, when my father ran it, he always did high quality. Always, the people always cared about the product. I think the other part of that is at this level in this day and age, the expectation is extremely high with communication, documentation, delivery of proposals, execution of RFIs, change orders handling, billing handling and how that's done, timely enough with, lien waivers or whatever it is. So the whole professionalism side of the company, uh, from a business side, in my mind, needs to go hand in hand with the product that you're outputting. It's all in one, in my mind. How we communicate and how we build and how we process things and how we use shop drawings and get the shop drawings approved and things like that. That starts before the project's even built, so they have an expectation of what we're producing internally with office and paperwork and dialogue at that point, and then that needs to execute right into the build process and how we're building the pool and then turning it over into service.
Is each one of those phases like QC'd? I mean, is there somebody checking off, every time, a phase is done and then, it can move on to the next thing?
Correct. So I have three full-time project managers. They manage close to 10 million apiece throughout the course of the year, and those guys are seeing their individual projects from start to finish, and they're communicating with the GCs and the clients, and they're scheduling manpower and tasks that need to be done based on their particular jobs.
And is that communication usually done through Builder Trend? I know it's easy
It's
to kind
all
of keep your
Yeah,
company in Builder Trend, but the outside, usually a lot of times people don't want to use something different.
yeah, that's all. So ours, it's all done internally on Build a Trend.
So I haven't used Builder Trend quite as much, and I'm not going to turn this into a big Builder Trend ad. But do they usually get like a notification when something is kind of pinged to them specifically, or are they at somebody, or is it through like a text, or, because I'm assuming if you're relying on that project management, that it's got to be pretty quick sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. You can set it up for text message or an email. Yeah, there's a couple different avenues you can go in. Yep.
Nice.
So can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the difficult things that have happened or some struggles you've had,
Yeah, I think
challenges?
challenges. I think just like everybody else is really just COVID, right? Just like erupted, and then you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with just the lack of manpower. Granted, we have a fair share of employees. It's there's always times you could use another 10, 15 guys, and wish you guys had people in the batter box to step up, if you needed to. So I think that's
Sure.
probably been that my biggest challenge is really in my mind mentally is how do I fix the problem of labor, uh, from getting them intrigued in this industry and teaching them about this industry, and then how do I train in this industry? This industry is it's not like around here you have to have a plumber's license, or you have to have a master electrician, you have to have a master's plumber's license, you have to HVAC. There's so many different. You have to have years and years of schooling and training to even get this license to do any of this stuff. The pool industry in general is somewhat rogue with that. Um, so I think the challenge and the things that I'm starting to lean more heavily on is figuring out how I can resolve this issue for myself, uh, within this particular area that I'm in, to continue to kind of attract people to be part of this.
How are you going to do that? What have you come up with?
Uh, I think so I think there's two things. I think that I have a strong feeling that the product you put out, and putting out a product that we put out and some of these other guys put out can naturally attract people, because people are like, wow, these are, that's unbelievable. You guys can build this and see the stuff that we see. So I think that's, if I'd like to say that continuing to build the projects we build will be one way. And the other way is really just to put together a training program, that we can really kind of milestone and progress, employees up a ladder that's actually legitimate, both financially and educationally, so that they're intrigued to stay.
That's interesting. I'm doing something similar here too, although it's taking much longer than I'd like, but that seemed like a same observation on my end. Like give them almost like a path. It's very like set out. This is your financial set. This is your skill set. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, and then I'm hoping, I'm in the process of finishing a huge building that we're going to be moving into that I'm putting a training facility in.
Mm.
Then I'm hoping in my mind that, this all works out and that the word gets out and that this thing can become bigger than I ever thought it was, when it comes to training and getting people to fly up here or see, be a part of something that isn't necessarily available other than going to a trade show or, you know, spending 2 days before a trade show, really.
So tell me about that facility. Are you gonna have pools in it, or what's that gonna be comprised of?
Yeah, so we it's 21,000 square feet.
Wow.
I'm not going to focus on putting pools primarily into it. I'm going to focus more on the mechanicals of the pools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to really, to me, it's more the mechanics of it because I'm not trying to use it as a show pool for sales.
Right.
It's really going to be more just mechanically to show clients, landscape architects, and then employees, how to operate the technology that goes behind these pools, why things are built this way, why there's bypasses here, why we do the things that we do from a technical standpoint, more than just a pretty pool.
21,000 square feet. That's freaking enormous.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good.
So, in your experience, what are some of the most difficult things that you see people getting hung up on when it comes to, building swimming pools? If you're like hiring, a certain, you know, type of phase of construction, is there something that's just, getting more difficult to find, like a certain quality in a person?
Service, yeah, service technicians. So I think plumbing wise, rebar, form crews, excavation crews, all that type of stuff. I don't have any issues with. To me, it's the service end of it, and a lot of in my particular area, a lot of it has to do with seasonality, right? So we'll build all winter long. We'll build pools all winter long, but the service wise, we have to shut down a lot of pools. So the amount of service work over the winter is next to nothing. So a lot of the things that a lot of the problems I have to lay guys off that are service tech because there's nothing for them to do in the winter. So they usually stop working around Thanksgiving and then come back in March. So that's it's a deterring factor of being able to retain some of the employees is just the fact that they're not going to be working for a couple months throughout the winter time.
What do they do? Do they go do something else or?
Some of them collect, some of them do something else. Yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, why did you even get into service? When did you decide to do that?
Uh, I've been in service probably for about, I'd say like 20 years. I think, for me, service is really the end game for everything. Um, from a business standpoint, right? It's just reoccurring revenue. It's always going to be there, no matter what the economy does. And I think, I like the ability to, turn a project over and continue to maintain that project, update that project. So there's a sense of control around it too that I like as well.
Hmm. When do
But
you
that's
guys
probably the biggest factor.
when do you guys stop building, by the way? Do you guys build? I mean, I know service stops in the winter, but do you guys build year round?
Yeah, we build all year round. It's crazy. We have people that they throw tents around it. So, I mean, I have clients that drop 100 grand on a temporary tent just to get the pool shot over the winter time.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
What do they do? Just load it with like area heaters and tent it and
Yeah, diesel heaters with forced air, and then we have a glycol machines that we use. So we have a glycol machine. It's like a ground thawer. So we put that on the ground with heat blankets, and we can defrost about a foot out of the ground in about 24 hours with that.
No way.
Yeah, but yeah, that can be grueling for the guys at times. But that's what it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, what are the pools like in New England? Because I always think, more, kind of luxury, traditional, totally different than what you might see in Southern California.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the pools we do here are 8,000 or 800 square feet or bigger. So pools are a decent size around here. We do a lot of 20 by 50s, a lot of 20 by 40s.
Wow.
A lot of the stuff up here is rectangle driven, especially with the architects. And then given the nature of the area, the automatic pool cover is a huge factor up here, for cleanliness in the fall and then just retention on heat. So we do a lot of pools that are rectangular, negative edge pools, but that can accept the cover.
You guys using a lot of stone up there, or what's the decking predominantly up there?
Yeah, so the decking up here is all pretty much natural stone. So it's all granites, blue stones, a decent amount of imported material from like China, some of the
Yeah.
denser products. The the porcelain's become a huge fad, which I can't stand, just because I don't like working with it. But that's a big thing. That's starting to become a huge thing up here.
What about wood? You guys get into wood deck?
Yeah, we probably do about a dozen jobs with Ipe around them. A lot of Ipe wood.
For people who don't know what that is, it's composite, basically composite looking wood, right? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a Brazilian. It's a Brazilian hardwood, I believe. It's one of the densest and hardest woods out there, really. I think in
Oh
the
wow.
world. Um,
It's sweet though. I like the way it looks. So Andy, it was awesome learning about you and your company. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and find environmental pools?
yep. So we're in Chelmsford, Massachusetts. It's about a half an hour outside of Boston, and we're soon to be moving to a town called Bolton, Mass, where our facility is being built right now. So
Awesome. Obviously Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, right?
Facebook, Instagram, yeah, our website environmentalpools.com.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, man. It was awesome talking to you. Looking forward to following you guys and seeing what you guys got cooking, especially when that facility hits.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.